yeah, this is my talk. I'm sure some of you may have seen something similar from me before. Just going to start off with a quick video of it, if you're all keen to watch that. I hope it plays.
We're programmed to connect. It's what makes us human, gives us comfort. My Air's room temperature control lets you comfort everyone individually. Tuesday night into daylight. My Air and my lights make the connected home feel.
Okay, you don't need too much of the marketing spiel. So just briefly, what we're going to go through today, a brief history lesson, sorry for that, then discussion about, or talking about living with a smart home, where we see this going in the future, and then if you have any questions, we'll deal with those at the end. Cool. So, yeah, automation's been around a lot longer than a lot of us think, and you can see there it essentially started in 1785 with Nikola Tesla inventing the first remote control boat, actually, but that was the start of automation starting to take shape. Then in the late 19th century, things like the first automatic dishwasher came into being. You'll see in the 1930s, the World Fair had what they perceived as the first automated home where the future that all of us would live in. Things carried on with obviously more computing improvements, chips developed, but in essentially 1975, the X10 was the first home automation type product. It was a bus product that was invented to create automation within the home. By 1978, they brought out the light switches and ability to control lights. As PCs became more ubiquitous with both Microsoft and Apple, technology became more common for individuals. In 1984, smart home technology or home automation spread beyond just the limits that it was been in from the 70s. So it was including entertainment, garage doors, things like that. In 1989, they started using wireless remotes, wireless controls in homes with RF type products. And then essentially it's continued in a very slow vein until about 2014, where we started to see big growth in the protocols and the way that homes can communicate within themselves. So some of those are things like Wi-Fi, Thread, Instant Bluetooth, Zigbee, Z-Wave. Some you will have heard of, some you won't have heard of, but they're all competing essentially against one another to control homes, and that creates a problem for who's going to win and how the home is controlled if you have different products. So a couple of years ago, a couple of tech companies, Amazon, specifically home companies like Philips, etc., looked at something called a Project Connected Home, which by sometime in 2021, they hope to have a unified way of communicating within the home. So a combination of wired, wireless, and these different protocols to talk to one another, which brings us to sort of where things start getting far more entertaining, living with a smart home. So there are a number of people or demographics that, as this becomes more available, it becomes an option for them to use. So the elderly is a really good option in terms of, if I think of my grandmother, she struggles to close the curtains. So being able to do that from the push of a button on a cell phone makes a massive difference to her life. Or if she can't, the elderly falling in a bathroom or something is a major, major health risk. So something that motion sensors that monitors if someone hasn't come out the bathroom for more than an hour to send a message to a healthcare worker or a family member that something's gone wrong. If you look in that bottom picture there, people with health issues, particularly around disabilities of, paraplegics or quadriplegics, that kid actually from a home we did, he has serious problems with switching on and off lights. So the ability to switch his lights off from bed made a big difference to his life. Obviously, tech lovers all want some kind of tech in their homes. They always looking for these sort of things. And then in the top picture, people who travel a lot are often needing these sort of things or wanting them, because if they're away from home a lot, they leave their families there, they want to be able to control or see some sort of access of what's going on at home or if they're coming home late, they want to be able to switch the lights on inside and out to see if there's anyone in the home, make sure the alarm hasn't gone off when they're they're away, things like that. Cool. There's a quick little video for us to watch.
It's like a walk into the future with them. So that's that screen there.
Yeah. Because we are able to control things from our device or our own mobile devices.
The system is very simple to use, intuitive. Drive off your finger. I don't even need to put my spectacles on to read it.
I even programmed all the room names into it last night, and it's helping us feel like we're connected in the home.
Okay, you don't need to watch the whole thing, but those are people who are actually living with the system at the, from a few years ago and how it impacted their lives. Cool. Then I'm going to briefly talk about what is connected in these homes. So typically, we do a whole bunch of these kind of things. People say, "Oh, I want everything connected," but they don't really know what they mean by that. And often it's the lights, garage doors, air conditioners, sometimes geysers or pool pumps, things that have an actual practical use for them. Although this seems like a luxury, well, this is a luxury thing, they often want an actual practical use that benefits them. You can sort of look at this in three ways as to the products that people view in the smart home. One is sort of smart speakers, which I'll speak about in a moment. Then the smart appliances. So, if your fridge can tell you, for example, how much groceries you have within the fridge, there's a camera in there, or if you pack it correctly, it can reorder for you. Those things are wildly expensive at the moment, but those are the sort of appliances that have benefits. And then you have your actual fittings. So that would be, again, lights, garage doors, things like that. Here's another quick video. How it works. Of how the benefits we get.
Devices. And what to preserve. So, we created My Place, a control system that transforms products into smart home products. My Place.
Yeah. I need too much of our marketing stuff. Cool. So living with smart home, often people think or talk about things like Alexa, Google Home, Siri, or Apple Home. Often these are just the sort of hub devices or entry-level device, the port devices that allow you to access the various other things in your home. A Google Home or Alexa doesn't actually connect or control your lights, but you would connect it to a device that controls your lights, so that you'd be able to say, Alexa, switch off the kitchen lights, or hey Google, switch on the air conditioning, or hey Google, switch all the lights off, for example. Those are often like the hub or the central things that control it. And then from there, it will grow out to the rest of your house. Cool. I just want to talk about sort of the cost benefits of these things and where it becomes important in people's homes. So obviously, like everything in life, there's a cost benefit. You could buy a really cheap cell phone, but everyone buys an iPhone or a Samsung. In the same way, you could have a less expensive home, or you could try and upgrade it. But you do need some sort of practical benefits beyond that. So, an iPhone is very intuitive. So, you'd need the same thing for your home. You need some sort of place where you actually make some cost savings. So, for example, if you have kids, they never switch the lights off. And if the system starts to look at your home and be like, okay, after 11 o'clock, no one, or 11:30, no one should be awake, switch off all the lights in these areas. It starts saving you money, in the morning. Even in winter, after 8 o'clock, no one should be in home, switch the lights off, or switch the air conditioner off because no one's at home during the day, unless, of course, during Corona, everyone's working from home. So it's a combination of luxury, cost savings, and then, there's a definite security element to it in terms of, if you can control your gate from wherever you are, it means you have to hand out less gate remotes to people who are working in your house, or you don't have to be home, especially if you travel a lot, or by travel a lot, I mean, obviously around the world, but, away from home during the day, especially with things being delivered to homes more and more. We're seeing that sort of security allowing the benefits, and obviously things like cameras, etc. this is what people's current experiences are of what they enjoy. They like simplicity, you know, things start doing things for themselves, that, you know, centralized control, where it's around repeatable processes. So like I mentioned, you know, going to bed at night, switching off all the lighting, or when you leave for work, you push a button, switches off the lights, switches on the alarms, you know, for example, maybe puts down the blinds or something similar like that. The convenience factor of these things that, you know, automatically, say, when the sun goes down, the lights switch on, you don't have to walk around switching them on. It's amazing how, when you're used to living with that, like I am, when you don't live with it, it's quite a shock that you have to switch on all the lights yourself. Then obviously energy efficiency, you know, ways to run your appliances or the house more energy efficient, especially in South Africa. And then it's really important that products are reliable, you know, especially if you wake up in the middle of the night and you hear a sound outside and you push the button to switch on the lights outside. You want the lights to switch on outside. You don't want it to not work. You know, it's not that time when you're terrified what's going to happen that it lets you down. And of course, there's a cool factor to this. I mean, it is very cool. It is very awesome. When you're sitting on your porch and the sun starts going down, it's getting dark, and automatically your lights switch on. You feel like James Bond. It's very, very cool. Oh, hello. Let's skip to the next one. Right, there we go. So to give you an idea on where we are at the moment with what the options are for smart home. So smart wireless devices are the low end of the cost brackets. They, you know, they cost a couple $100 per device. You normally need a hub for it to communicate with. So you're looking at like 2,500, 2,000 Rand for a very small, simple install. It can be done by anybody. It can, you know, it's being able to screw a few things in and pushing a few buttons. Problem with these is that there is no support, and, you know, if the device doesn't work, there's no warranty. So funny enough, we were in a house last week. Guy had bought 40 wireless devices, and straight out the box, 12 of them didn't work. Now that's obviously frustrating, but it's also a big waste of money. Then there's the next tier, which is smart homes, which is sort of the tier we're in. The cost is medium, so instead of it costing 2,000 Rand, it starts at about 14,000 Rand. Installation is still quite simple. It can be done by a homeowner or an electrician, but there is support. There are people coming who can help you connect things. If it doesn't work, they can find out why. And of course, there's warranties. So if you buy something out the box and it doesn't work, you get a brand new one back. And lastly, there's home automation, which is the most well known. The cost there starts at like 100,000 Rand. It's incredibly complex. You need a specialist installer who's gone on a specialist course to install it. But the great thing is there is support, and it can do, you know, if you needed to know how dry the soil is for the sprinklers to switch on, this is the kind of system that does that sort of work. That gives a brief idea on homes, where it is at the moment. So these are sort of where we are at the moment. This is worldwide, so it's not South Africa specific, but it's it's middle class America, middle class Europe, which is probably similar to upper middle class South Africa. So in 2017, there were 9 smart devices in the home. So your phone, your tablet, your computer, your TV, your partner's equivalent of all of those things, your kids' Xbox or whatever, their cell phones, etc. Now we're at 20 devices, you know, where it's proliferated into smart speakers, smart lights, more devices in the homes. 44% of millennials are willing to spend $3,000 per home, with extra on a home that's somehow smart enabled. Funnily enough, we've seen in different parts of the world, an older generation adopts this earlier than one expects them to, because they have the extra money, they're spending more time at home. And we're all spending more time at home now, but this is pre-corona, they were spending more time at home. And then if you look at the trends worldwide, so San Francisco is probably the sort of tech capital of the world. 90% of homes they have, or 99% of homes they have some smart device within the home. It's only the really old and, you know, the non-adopters that have no smart devices. Then Florida, 60% of homes there have a smart device. And for example, in Australia, they're ahead of us, sadly, on the curve. 60% of new homes being built there are smart enabled. The interesting thing is in South Africa, millennials are now the largest buyers of homes. They account for, I think it's 38% of new home buyers, which, plus millennials and sort of bracket up to 44, so it's 24 to 44. That accounts for 4% of home buyers, and that's according to Property 24. So you can go and check that out. Cool. Where are we going in the future? What we're seeing. So this is from a 2017 McKinsey study. This is the things people want. They want security, simplicity. They want it to work. They want to be able to afford it, and they want the companies that they're buying it from still to be in business in 5 or 10 years' time. When you're putting the stuff into your home, you live in your home for, on average, in South Africa, 7 years. So you don't want the company or the product to no longer work in 3 or 4 or 5 years' time. It must be in there for the long haul. And of course, they want the luxury of the item. So where the issues are in the future and stumbling blocks, if you look at this picture, those are all different ways to heat and cool your home. This is just an example. Now, there are so many different devices that connect into these things that you have a proliferation of them, and that causes confusion as to people as to what's good, what's not good. Often this results in a lot of bad quality products and bad installations in homes, and that turns people away. So that's a major area of problems around this. Then cloud security is another issue. So, it seems every month we hear about some system company that had all their data in the cloud and it was hacked and they've lost it all. People's information is now public. Any system that is cloud-based has got a massive risk around that for the foreseeable future, and finding a way to get around that is a key area for smart homes. And finally, a way to reduce costs or continue to reduce costs and improve value, that people find in the products. As we live more with it and as this industry develops, it becomes easier and easier to see, okay, well, these are the things that actually add genuine value to people's lives, and those become more and more common. Cool. So what does the future look like? So especially now with Corona, the home office, I think, is going to become a lot more popular, and that means, funnily enough, heating and cooling, air conditioning throughout the day in your home, because nothing like cooking in your own home. Home deliveries are growing. In the last few months, it went from, as a percentage of purchasing, 1% of purchases online. It's now at 9%. That's growth in a few months, which is massive. Maybe that'll mean Amazon will come into South Africa. Maybe that'll mean the Amazon speaker actually becomes useful in South Africa. So there's a growth around the home and people spending more time in the home and wanting to upgrade their homes. Then it starts to work on algorithms. The smart homes start looking at algorithms, kind of like Facebook does. If you've watched The Social Dilemma, I always wanted to keep you attached. But, when do people go to bed every night? If there's no motion in the house, when does the sun set, when does the sun rise, things like that. The algorithms start learning that, if it's summer or winter, the blinds go up and down at different times, that sort of thing. And then lastly, robotics. So in the East, so Japan, China, that part of the world, there's a far different approach to robots as a tool to help people live, especially around the elderly. And there's, if you've ever seen it, there are robots that can chop onions and carrots and help cook dinner. As we move in the next 10, 15 years, that could become a bigger and bigger part of our homes. I know I'd prefer not chopping onions. Cool. Then there's a quick video here by Biko, but I'm not sure if I have enough time to get through that. You may have seen this before. If it works. If it doesn't work. Okay, sorry. Well, we saved some time. So just to recap, so smart home technology has grown out of home automation industry and through the Internet of Things is developing into its own field. At the moment, we've got a confusing mixture of reasons for people to have smart homes, in terms of what is important to their lives. But long-term success of this will be based on convenience and luxury for people within their homes, obviously. And finally, the next step is the use of algorithms to manage your home. And that is the end of my presentation. If there's any questions or anything like that, I'm here. Oh, geez, a whole heap of questions. So I'm just going to work out how to scroll. Bugger off, computer. Okay, cool. So what's the price ranges? I think I dealt with that during the talk. It can start from a very simple system at 1,500 Rand to 2,000 Rand. This is a sort of entry-level wireless system. And from there, it can extend to hundreds of thousands of Rands. So your fridge, the next question is, reorder your fridge how? It won't reorder your fridge, but in the fridge, if you pack it correctly, bear in mind, this is like 180,000 Rand fridge. If you pack the lettuces and the meats and the milk, whatever, the fridge takes a photo of it, and then when it notices those levels are down, so there's no lettuce left, there's no meat left, or fillet left, or whatever, it'll then automatically reorder that for you, which is pretty cool. It's an expensive reordering system. Cool. The next one is, what's to stop people hacking your system? That's a great question. So the key here is anything that is cloud-based, there's a risk of being hacked. Especially when centralized databases exist of loads of people's information, and then you rely on the Then you rely on the manufacturer or whoever's hosting that data to keep it secure. The ideal situation is where something is not cloud-based, because that is far more difficult to hack. So, for example, give us a little punt here, but our system is based in your home. For someone to connect to it, even the app is it's a generalized app, but it's based on your device at home and it's personalized to you, and you have a unique ID for that one. It's not in the cloud. Your information's on the cloud. If they hack the app in the cloud, they don't get access to your home. They then actually need to individually hack your home and hack your Wi-Fi to be able to access it. So yeah, anything that's cloud-based is risky. Anything that's not cloud-based is gets away from being hacked. Cool. Do they have emergency power mode with battery life? So that depends on the system that you put in, and what you want to control. If you're doing a few lights, it's very easy to have especially for LEDs, they're very low energy. It's very easy to have a battery backup. But yeah, if it's like an air conditioner or a geyser, those eat electricity and you need a massive backup. You need a proper backup, battery backup. We have a little inverter that runs a bunch of our things in our home for a few hours, as an example. What's the next innovative IoT idea we're working on? So that's an interesting question. We've just integrated with Philips Hue to give us a wireless option. We're not wild about wireless. Wireless relies on line of sight and things like that, but it does start getting pretty interesting when you can connect into. So we connect into like Spotify, a solar system, and then it starts being interesting around, well, what we've done and what we're currently working on is your solar system being able to charge the batteries during a portion of the day and run the home, especially for a home office, off of the batteries rather than off the solar, or vice versa. And it knows from your usage on your device what to do, which I think is pretty cool. So who's our biggest competitor, and how do we differentiate from them? So at the moment, I think the industry is too small for us to have any sort of clear competitors as a whole. So, Control 4 is the main in South Africa, Control 4 and Elan, but primarily Control 4 in South Africa are the main home automation guys. So that's in the top end of the price range, the 100,000 to 1 million Rand setups. In our product range, there's not really anyone in the lower sort of middle, so the 14,000 to 50,000 bracket. And then there's a lot in the low end market of the wireless system. So we probably compete all with one another. So, wireless systems compete with us, who then compete with home automation. But each of them, has a different level of ability. So a wireless system is reliant on the wireless working, on neutrals in the circuits. So it's normally limited to a really small installation that's very simple with like timers and things like that. And ours is probably a bit more complex in terms of, knowing when the sun sets, knowing what the outside temperature is, knowing whether to open or close the blind, that kind of thing. Then home automation is the most complex. I hope I've answered that properly. Cool. Have we seen a big increase in sales since the lockdown started? So we were closed because we manufacture for the construction industry. We were closed during lockdown, but post-lockdown, we had an unbelievable boom. I'd like to say it's our brilliance, but we completely unexpected boom for about 3 months, where sales were unbelievable, better than our previous years, 2 years combined. And in the last 2 months, they've seemed to have dropped off as dramatically. We have seen a lot more growth in some segments of our smart technology, especially around our starter kits. And that seems to have grown. I guess people spending more time in homes, and that's starting to generate a far more consistent product offer, purchasing than we were seeing before lockdown. And that's all the questions I have, I think. Yeah, I'm all done. Thank you very much for listening.